see the style, you smell the earth. I'm trying to swerve, I'm trying to swerve.
Hi guys, it's Lexie, and this is a What Your Mother Doesn't Tell You About periods and birth control. Originally it was going to be periods, birth control, and sex, but I have so many questions that I got from you guys. There's going to be a separate video on What Your Mother Doesn't Tell You About sex, if this one gets a good response. But for now, periods and birth control. And I asked everyone on Snapchat to send me in different questions or comments or topics that you want me to discuss. And a lot of you wanted to know when I got my first period. I was a late bloomer. It was to the point where I would go to my doctor for my annual checkup and they would say, have you gotten your period yet? And I said no, and they'd be like, well, maybe this year. And that was around like 8th grade, and then 9th grade happened, 10th grade happened. I did not get my period until I was in 11th grade. I was 16 years old. I was about to go to the movies and I had to pee real quick, and then I looked and I was like, oh, thank God. I got my period finally. My period is really irregular, and that's normal for if you have first gotten your period for it not to be once a month for the first year. But if you're noticing that you're going a very long amount of time without getting it, or you're getting it way more frequently than you should, then I don't have any medical advice. My advice is to see a doctor. You know, like I can't sit here and tell you what you should do and which pill you should get on or what IUD you should get implanted in you or what diet you should start eating. I don't know those things. I'm not a professional. This series is just for me to be giving you big sisterly advice. And as your big sister, I am telling you, go see a doctor. However, before you see a doctor, know your period. That is so important, because when you're going to see a doctor, you want to make sure that you're using your time as wisely as possible. So when they ask you when your last period was, be able to pull up a date. And you could write it down, but I highly suggest just downloading the app Clue, because I always have my phone with me. What I typically use it for is just to track like what type of bleeding I have. So was today light, medium, heavy, or spotting? But you can also insert your pain levels. You can insert your emotions, your sleep, you can track your sex, your energy, and even your birth control, because if you're already on the pill, sometimes it will mess things up if you take it late or if you miss it or you accidentally take two. And this way, when you go to the doctor, you can go to this app and just pull it up and say, okay, my last period was on September 13th. I highly, highly, highly suggest downloading the app. It is so important if you have an irregular period to be able to track it so you can get help. Now comes birth control. This is typically what your doctor is going to suggest to you if you have an irregular period. More than likely, they are going to prescribe you a pill, and I have been through the ringer with birth control pills. I have an IUD. I mean, guys, like, I have tried them all. I don't want to talk specifically about which pills I was on because they're really going to affect your body completely differently. Everyone's hormones are different, so I don't want to be hyping up or trash talking any brands, but the first pill I was put on, I was on for about 4 or 5 months. Your body takes about 3 months to get adjusted to it. After 5 months, I went to my doctor and I said, it's not working. I don't think this is good for me, so they put me on another one. And I tried that, didn't work, was probably on that for about 6 months. Then I tried another one, and then I moved to Los Angeles and I decided I wanted to become a vegan. So, with learning all about health and getting super interested in it, of course, like I have a very like obsessive personality type, and when I go into some sort of interest, I go in. I said I want to be free of anything that my body isn't doing naturally, no processed foods. I am going to get off any medication, and obviously here I am to speak like a year and a half later, and I eat plenty of junk food. But when this all happened, I decided no birth control pills. So I did a lot of research and I found IUDs because I had a boyfriend, so I still didn't want to get pregnant even though I wasn't taking the pill for my irregular period or anything. And IUDs are inserts that last anywhere from 2 to 10 years depending on which one you get. Some of my friends, for instance, have ones that are hormonal, so they insert it and they work just like a birth control pill. They fluctuate your hormones. You're just not actually taking an oral medication every single day. I got the Paraguard, which is just a copper wire, and it lasts, preventing me from getting any babies, for 10 years. The pros of it is that it completely fit the lifestyle I was trying to live. It was a way that would keep me from getting pregnant. I wouldn't have anything being changed in my body. However, it wasn't going to do things for me like clear up my acne or fix my irregular period. It just was there as a form of birth control. So if that's something of your interest, I would look into the Paraguard. I would talk to your doctor about it. Now, a lot of you guys probably want to be on birth control. I know a lot of you do because you said it to me in Snapchat. How do I ask my parents to get me on birth control? And I would like to think that if you feel like you're ready to have the potential of creating another life with someone, then you should have the maturity level to ask your parents if you can get on a form of birth control. If your parents are strict and they say no, which I think that is so wrong, because if your child is telling you that they are sexually active but they want to do it safely, I just encourage that so much, because I know teenagers, like, you guys are horny fucking beings. You want to have sex. I grew up in Virginia and we have an abstinence sexual ed program taught in school, and I think that's so horrible. It is such a waste of time to be in sex ed class and just being told that you just shouldn't have it. Like, abstinence is the answer. I think contraceptive sex programs should be in all United States public schools. It's teaching kids how to practice safe sex, talking about the chances of getting a UTI after having sex, or getting STDs, or condoms versus birth control, different forms of that. I think kids should be very knowledgeable on it, considering how sexually active teenagers generally are. So if your parents say no, you could go one of two routes. One, when you just visit your primary care physician, just like for your annual checkup, bring it up to them, say to your doctor, I'm interested in having sex. I talked to my parents, they won't let me go on the pill, but I really want to be safe about this. Is there any way I can get on the pill or go around this and pay for it myself on the side? Something like that. Talk to your doctor and they'll have ideas for you. The second route you can go, which I know a lot of people do, I know so many girls who did this, essentially complain to your parents about your acne and say that you want to go to a dermatologist, and then ask your dermatologist if there's any like birth controls that will fix acne, or go on birth control for your irregular period. Now, if your parents are the type that just don't believe in medication, then I think you just have to be as safe as you possibly can. Be sober for it. Do not be intoxicated when you're making decisions like this. Use condoms, the pull-out method. Definitely not encouraging these. I don't want that. I do not want that blood on my hands. Another question I got on birth control is how to deal with the weird symptoms. I think that just comes with finding the right birth control for you. I still get my period way more often than I should. I spend so much money on tampons. The one thing that has helped me, eliminating animal products from my diet, changed my PMS symptoms so much. I used to be suffering when I was on my period. My mom would just be constantly bringing me heat pads from my back, and I just was in so much pain. It was so bad. My life consisted of chocolate wine and tampons forever. And now eating this way, it's definitely helped. I'm still on my period, but it's more of just a nuisance thing as opposed to like something that stops me from living my everyday life. Now, there's so many questions that you guys had on sex, and I would love to talk about them, but I hope you guys found some good advice in this video, and if you have any additional questions, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. I'm going to try to put as much information that I talked about in this video because I know I dropped a lot of names. If you want to download the app that I told you about, Clue, so you can track your period, do it. I think every girl should have that app. It also predicts when your next period is going to be. If you're going on vacation, that you should pack your tampons. All the forms of birth control that I talked about, I will put in the description box. And I enjoyed giving you my big sisterly advice, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. It don't really work if you wear thongs, and I mostly wear thongs, as I'm known as the thong girl on YouTube thanks to my most viral video from this series.